Got fired on my first day and I don't know how to tell my parents. I am 15 years old and on my first day I got fired because I went on my phone to check some texts and watch a little bit of TikTok, and when I got off my manager told me that today is my last day because I went on my phone. I am really stressed and just want some advice on how to tell my parents. Update. I told my parents hours ago I was just being dumb and didn't decide to update this, but I did learn from my really stupid mistake of being a dumbass, but they were disappointed in me but still offered to help find new jobs for me. I know some of the comments here are very harsh, but that's what life is sometimes, and I definitely learned this. By the way, the reason why I am working at 15 is because I wanted to. Comment by 1_presentation 6602 with 5736 upvotes says, got fired on my first day and I don't know how to tell my parents. Comment by Nate 915915 with 29 upvotes says, was the TikToking worth it? Comment by Lovely Birch with 3590 upvotes says, just learn your lesson, own your mistakes, and be honest with your parents. They'll probably get a little mad, but that's life. Comment by Nectarine Any 4897 with 30 upvotes says, own it. You fucked up. Comment by Mr. Puddin Jones with 70 upvotes says, you're not going to be paid to watch TikTok. Growing up time is gonna hit you hard if you don't take responsibility for your own actions. Learn this lesson once. Don't let it happen at the next job. Be honest with your parents. Take the punishment, move forward. Comment by Low Jeans High Hopes with 159 upvotes says, first of all, no one really pays attention to the first job you get. Not everyone works as a teenager. It's not going to affect your future employment. This is not going on a permanent record that will pop up in 10 years. That being said, it is important to learn how to function in the real world. You don't pull the cell phone out. You don't check text messages. You don't look at TikToks. The best way to handle it is to put your phone on airplane mode and then put it in your pocket like it doesn't exist. Because they are paying you to focus solely on that job for 8 hours. Comment by 518 Gummies with 40 upvotes says, rip the band-aid off and tell them. If you can try to get another job before the end of the day. Comment by Echo 259 with 463 upvotes says, most places would have just given you a warning unless you were watching for hours. In the grand scheme of your life, this is a tiny mistake. As a parent myself, I'd be cool as long as my kid learned a lesson. 15-year-old getting fired from a minimum wage job isn't exactly a major life event. Comment by Rolo 951 with 25 upvotes says, you're only 15, just be honest, say you thought it would be fine as you've never worked before, you've learned your lesson and you're disappointed with yourself. You'll be fine, mate. Comment by Rivik 2 with 7 upvotes says, you can't be on your phone. Comment by Blue Beams with 1611 upvotes says, Mom, Dad, I got fired from my job because I was on my phone when I wasn't supposed to. I'm sorry for disappointing you. If my kid told me this, I would of course be upset, but I would also be proud of them for having some accountability and owning up to their mistake. It'll be okay, kid. Tell your parents and don't make this mistake again. Comment by 54 Radioactive with 10 upvotes says, explain to your parents what happened and ask for advice on workplace etiquette, something you wouldn't be expected to know at 15. Get their advice on what is good to do and what will get you fired. Comment by Zgor022 with 9 upvotes says, got fired at my first job, sat at Walmart until parents came and picked me up. Told my dad and he said there's no punishment, it's all on me. Comment by EmryZ2 with 350 upvotes says, manager probably didn't want to put up with someone that's audacious enough to already look lazy on their first day. If you want to screw around on your phone, you need to at least wait a few months before you look comfortable at a job to do those kind of things. At that point, the manager will either comment on it or just ignore it unless it's getting in the way. But who gives a fuck, the person is 15. Tell your parents, own up to it, and look for a new job. It's not like it was a 100k per year with matching 401k. Just need to learn from your experience and not make the same mistake. Comment by Remarkable_Falcon 257 with 840 upvotes says, just say, I learned a really valuable lesson. I learned that I can't give in to my urge to check my phone while at work. Unfortunately, I was fired, and worst of all, I know you must be disappointed. I hope you know I've learned from this and I will continue looking for a job. Then, when you interview at your next job, don't tell the next job. Just apply and move forward if you've never been hired anywhere else before. Comment by Intelligent Male 386 with 12 upvotes says, that's exactly why you got fired. You went on your phone during work, unless you were on your break. Even if you weren't busy or just standing idle, do not go on your phone. Let that be a lesson for you for the future. I hope you find a new job quickly. Comment by Mocha Gig with 553 upvotes says, exactly. Everyone messes up at some point, but being upfront and owning it shows real maturity. Just tell them straight, it'll sting for a sec, but they'll appreciate the honesty. Comment by Oravi with 15 upvotes says, yeah, exactly, sometimes that's all you need to hear, just own up to it, be honest, and move on. It doesn't sound that bad when you put it like that. Comment by Intelligent Male 386 with 50 upvotes says, both of you are right, it's just a minimum wage job and OP is 15, unless their family need that income. Some people aren't as fortunate as others, and having a part-time minimum wage job for their teenager is a deal breaker. As a parent, I wouldn't get mad as long as my child learned a lesson. Comment by Echo 259 with 12 upvotes says, exactly, I wouldn't do that on the job, but it's also not the end of the world. I'm not saying the kid was good or bad, or that the manager is good or bad. Your right manager most likely has tons of other people wanting the job. To the manager, it's not worth keeping the kid around. Comment by Posy McMurder Mittens with 28 upvotes says, this is well put. The longer you work, the more you will realize that different workplaces have different cultures and different expectations, but it is really a good rule just to expect for it not to be acceptable to be on your phone during work without approval. The advice to learn from this and move on is good. This is not the end of the world, even though it feels bad now. You can do better next time. A painful but necessary part of growing up is the ability to acknowledge mistakes and failures in order to improve. You can't always get a second chance in the way you hope, but you can always try to be better than you were. That's the most we can ask of ourselves, sometimes. Edit. Sloppy formatting partially improved. Comment by Low Jeans High Hopes with 9 upvotes says, also to add, being able to tell your parents that you messed up is a huge step in becoming an adult. At some point, we've all been fired or had to quit jobs. Everyone will be unemployed at some point, and he will at some point have a partner or a roommate who you have to discuss the big bad thing with. What's important is leaving this situation with the knowledge that you messed up and admitting that to your parents. If this means they take your phone away for a little bit, that's probably for the best. People are addicted to their phones in ways that it becomes really unhealthy. If you cannot go 8 hours without looking at TikTok, then there's a problem. Comment by Plus Drawing 7431 with 12 upvotes says, mate, when I was 15 I was a sandwich maker in a Perth cafe. I got sacked on my first day for being totally useless. It happens. Learn from your mistakes, e.g., don't watch videos when you're supposed to be working. You'll be right. Don't lie, own it, it will be good for your character. Comment by Stop Look Listen Decide with 17 upvotes says, I am surprised mom and dad didn't have a convo about expectations, etc. My parents did wit my kids too. Need to prepare them for reality. Comment by GoTCLG with 9 upvotes says, most places hiring 15-year-olds have a union contract kick in after 90 days. For the first 90, any minor offense is worth firing someone over. I've watched what happened to OP on multiple occasions simply because union protections hadn't kicked in yet. Comment by Dangerous_Fudge 6204 with 12 upvotes says, I'm not sure OP is avoiding responsibility. They're just seeking advice on how to tell their parents. Comment by Lugnuts4Life with 77 upvotes says, I'm a mom, and I agree with the above advice. Just tell him really quickly, OP. Get it over with, and you can feel relieved and move on. Good luck. 4-leaf clover. Comment by William Town with 47 upvotes says, on their first day? Even on the first day of school, kids show up on time and don't use their phones. It only gets worse, and the boss knows this from experience. Comment by God's Only Prophet with 392 upvotes says, except add, well, I learned an important lesson today. Comment by Cup Suitable 4788 with 17 upvotes says, that's pretty stupid. I'd fire you too. Comment by Echo 259 with 22 upvotes says, on my teams I prefer giving a warning on first offense. At the end of the day, firing a person day 1 or day 2 doesn't make much of a difference. If they course correct after the warning, it saves me interviewing new candidates. Once again, that's how I run my teams. Not saying it's the only way or the right way of doing it. Comment by fun_guest 8288 with 36 upvotes says, happened to my son, and when he was honest I wasn't happy but told him I am proud of him for being respectful and honest. He hasn't made the same mistake again. Comment by Slipson with 139 upvotes says, also very important to add, truly learn the lesson. PL's op, do not get fired again for this. Comment by Worried Turnip 6458 with 45 upvotes says, for future reference, based on people I work with in hydrogen sulfide, it's also obvious when you disappear into the bathroom multiple times or for extended periods that you are likely in your phone. Leave it in your bag the whole shift. Comment by Repboy1 with 8 upvotes says, seems a little harsh, but rules are rules I guess. Also not so smart on your part to be on your phone first day on the job. Comment by Virus 2021 with 32 upvotes says, unless you didn't actually learn the lesson. Comment by Wiglin_Harry with 431 upvotes says, greater than and watch a little bit of TikTok bruh, what? Kids these days are real fucking dumb. Everyone glances at, sends a text every now and then. But you can't just be watching TikTok on the clock. Go apply to some other jobs. That way when you tell your parents you can say, I've already applied for X jobs. Comment by Commission Extra 8240 with 9 upvotes says, if they were on a break they wouldn't have been fired. Comment by Wonderful_Highway 629 with 146 upvotes says, you can't watch TikTok on the job. That's not what they are paying you to do. Comment by Weak_Cheesecake 3127 with 17 upvotes says, some people love to be mean to young people and teach them a hard lesson, and then complain when nobody wants to apply there when they pull stuff like this. My cousin got fired from Target for being on his phone when he was on break in the break room. He was texting his mom the time that he got off work so she could pick him up, and his boss told him to leave and not come back. He has an internship at another company now and they appreciate him there. Some people are just assholes. Comment by Such_Detective_6709 with 76 upvotes says, yeah, and while this is OP's first job, for the manager there's probably precedent for axing someone who pulls out their phone on the first day. My work hired a kid earlier this year who pulled out his phone and started playing a game as soon as he learned the opening procedures, and I wish we would have fired him right then, because he was a lazy headache for the whole 3 weeks he lasted. Not saying op would have been the same, but that's kinda the level of company you're throwing yourself into when you do that on your first shift. Comment by SRSLYTHO1979 with 29 upvotes says, yeah. Worse if you hide it. Comment by Weak_Cheesecake 3127 with 120 upvotes says, there's only like 3 people in this comment section that have given actual advice and you're one of them. Comment by DramaBotch with 530 upvotes says, teacher, here. We aren't constantly asking you to get off your phones because we enjoy nagging. In many, real-world, circumstances, phone use is unacceptable. Comment by OK Flamingo 2801 with 18 upvotes says, greater than ask for advice on workplace etiquette, something you wouldn't be expected to know at 15. I feel like knowing they shouldn't be on their phone while working is something you should know, especially by 15. Surely their school has a no phones out rule. Comment by Bunny Drip with 10 upvotes says, exactly. Op made a mistake, but taking responsibility shows maturity. This could be a turning point if they own it and learn from it. Parents will see that. Comment by Any Name You Want Baby with 81 upvotes says, watch just a little TikTok. You are correct. Comment by Reddit_Chino with 13 upvotes says, it doesn't matter how old you are. Most jobs have you fill out forms, an orientation, training, and list of policies to follow. Before you started the job, what did they tell you? Maybe it's best to keep the phone off or at home while you're getting compensated. Comment by Ocean1507 with 8 upvotes says, I love this comment. It is so true. Adults are on power trips. Comment by Velgist with 326 upvotes says, dude, exactly this. Phones in the workplace are a big no-no. In an office job, sure. But minimum wage entry level, hell no. I am a train conductor. I literally can't even have my phone powered on or on my person while I am on duty. Just learn to not have your phone. Using a cell is like one of the top reason Gen Z, get canned. Comment by Solid Snake 2086 with 16 upvotes says, yep, believe me, if you lie or try to hide it, Your parents would be more upset about the lie than you getting fired. Comment by Cranky with 9 upvotes says, I think they would be more disappointed rather than mad. Hard lesson, but learn from it and grow. Comment by Exciting Heat 7848 with 49 upvotes says, exactly. Take a deep breath. You're 15, and mistakes like this how you learn. Just be upfront with your parents and explain exactly what happened. Tell them you understand why it was wrong, you're taking it seriously. And you'll do better next time. They might be disappointed at first, but they'll respect your honesty, and you'll move on from this. Comment by Background Cat with 11 upvotes says, and then don't do it again. Comment by More Ramen PLs with 18 upvotes says, here's a flip phone. Comment by EmryZ2 with 8 upvotes says, I never was given any preparation from my parents other than saying, yes sir, or no ma'am, which was the worst advice possible to give someone. Comment by SlimShany81 with 27 upvotes says, watched a little TikTok. Comment by Tall Adhesiveness 479 with 10 upvotes says, just be honest, own the mistake, and tell them you learned that phones can wait. They may be upset for a minute, but showing you're ready to try again and stay focused will matter more. Comment by Money_Bridge_6755 with 7 upvotes says, a little bit of TikTok, so how many hours was it?